Hey everyone, welcome back to Six Wins. My name is Matt.
I thought I was doing the intro. Matt's got it.
I'm so sorry. Well, my name is Matt. This is Chris.
We don't plan these in advance.
Never. It's just whoever talks first and loudest. But we are continuing our best male actor bracket, of course. And for this matchup, we are talking about the number 7 seed, Bryan Cranston, versus the number 10 seed, Danny DeVito. I'll kick off with my thoughts first, and then I'll pass it over to you. So I think Bryan Cranston is best known for TV roles more than film, which makes this an interesting one. We don't have a lot of TV first guys when you think of them. I think there are a few, maybe like Steve Carell because of The Office, Gandolfini because of Sopranos, maybe Charlie Sheen for 2.5 Men because that had like a run where it's like the most popular show, and then like Bryan Cranston for, of course, Malcolm in the Middle. If you're a little bit older, watch that growing up. And then, of course, Breaking Bad, which is what he's most well known for. And probably, if people are voting for Cranston, are voting for him almost solely based on that. I actually don't know if I can name a Bryan Cranston film where he's a lead role.
Yeah.
DeVito, on the other hand, I would describe him as close to primarily comedy guy. I think most of the time you think of him in humorous roles, it might just be because of the package he comes in. Somebody in one of the comments, actually, on one of our social medias on the vote said, it's gotta be DeVito because he had to walk in there and convince people you should be an actor based on how he looks. So he must be a good actor to have them be like, all right, even though this guy's 4'7" and has that voice, we're gonna put him in movies. So I thought that was really funny. Shout out to the comment for that. But DeVito's also really pretty well known for a TV role. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which is one of my favorite comedies, and he's hilarious in that. But he's done a lot of films, and he was he's another Batman actor. He was the Penguin.
Lots of Batman.
He was in a movie with your boy Arnie Schwarzenegger. I think it was called Little Big Man or something. Was that the name of it?
I think it was Twins.
Twins, okay.
Little Big Man's close though.
Little Big Man.
I think you're thinking of Little Big League.
Little Big League is
baseball
awesome.
movie.
Best sports movie bracket.
We're doing it.
I think we've talked about that, but we keep forgetting to bring it up.
We have done it.
So yeah, this is a tough one for me. I personally like Danny DeVito more.
Okay.
Because I've seen him in more things. But is Bryan Cranston a better actor? I haven't watched Breaking Bad. That's an admission. So I might abstain from this one, but I think either is deserving. How about you? What were your thoughts?
Well, your thoughts reflect the voters because out of all the polls we've run, we've been doing about 3 weeks now, we haven't had a closer matchup. So again, we put up the polls on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and I throw them up on my personal Facebook. And usually the personal Facebook is just so people who don't have the other ones feel like they're contributing. And actually, it did make an impact because out of all the ones we've done, there's never been a closer one.
Yeah.
This one was decided between literally, I think, 2 votes.
It was tight.
Total by the end. So being on the fence seems to be par for the course. I know I was. Fun fact, I've actually met Danny DeVito. I've actually met a bunch of people, not really met, but I worked at a restaurant when I lived in Los Angeles called Republique. And shout out Republique. They won, I think they got number 2 LA Times Best Restaurant in LA a few years ago. It was one of the coolest jobs I've ever had. And I met a bunch of people, but Danny DeVito could not be a nicer guy. And he actually came in, true story, he actually came in with his wife, Charlie Day, and Charlie Day's wife, who plays the waitress. And it was literally like a scene from It's Always Sunny because Charlie had never been there, to my knowledge. Danny DeVito was a regular, and you could tell Danny DeVito was very kind of almost protective of Charlie because he wanted the meal to go a certain way. He's like, you can't nibble on it, you gotta mash right into it.
Mash it.
We'll some mashed potatoes with our organic chicken, whatever. Super funny, cool story.
Frank, I'm trying, Frank. How much should I mash it?
Do you have milk steak?
It's just like a cheese guy.
Yeah. So little fun story. Danny DeVito, like you said, Frank Reynolds is one of the funniest TV characters ever. Cranston. I'll talk about Cranston because you covered a lot on DeVito. I'm actually going through Breaking Bad right now, so maybe this is a little personal bias, kind of like recency bias, I guess you
Yeah.
could say. But Breaking Bad, when we do best TV shows, if I have a say, Breaking Bad's gonna be a number one seed, probably along with maybe Sopranos, Game of Thrones, and if we do a comedy region, The Office maybe. When we ran it with our buddies, The Office actually won the first one,
Wow.
which was a little surprising. But you know, a group of 30 somethings, of course, they love The Office. Anyways, Cranston in Breaking Bad. I mean, what can I say? It's one of the best acting performances I've ever seen. There's this one scene in particular, and I'll end on this. And I used to be an actor. I was okay, but there's this thing in acting called dueling emotions, where you have to portray more than one emotion simultaneously. Very difficult to do. I could never do it. I could barely cry on cue. But there's this scene, I think it's the last season of Breaking Bad. And if you haven't seen the show, this isn't a spoiler. And if you have seen the show, you probably know what scene I'm talking about. He has to call Skylar, knowing that the phone is bugged by the police, so they're listening in. And he has to convey a message to Skylar, acting as if he doesn't know it's bugged, but he has to relay it to her to let her know it's bugged, and he has to act pissed off. But it's the hardest thing he's ever done. So he's like, you could see it in his eyes that he has to show how sad and painful this moment is, but he has to try in his voice to choke through it and act angry. And, it's one of those where, I get chills just thinking about it, because I think just specific scenes, it's probably the best scene I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, it's up there with Will Smith in Fresh Prince, where his dad leaves and he has to, act tough, but Uncle Phil has to console him because he just breaks down. It is that level of good acting.
Yeah.
So, when it was all said and done, like we said, closest matchup we've ever had, Bryan Cranston won by 2 votes. And I think we got 60 plus total. So very, very close. Everything was split. Any final thoughts on the matchup?
No final thoughts on the matchup. I'll be interested to just track how our TV primary actors do. So yeah, we'll see if TV can compete with lead roles in films and how Cranston does.
Sweet.